Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Smackdown live review. And I gotta say, I thoroughly enjoyed Smackdown Live tonight. I definitely thought it was a step up from last week's show. Was it better than Raw? I'd say it's about a draw from where I sit personally. But I love some of the character development that certain performers got. I'm intrigued by the state of the women's division because we got two interesting segments there. Well, I guess technically three, but there were two on my mind. And yeah, SummerSlam just continues to shape up. We got the addition of two new matches by my count, and the debut of American Alpha. So yeah, this SmackDown definitely packed more of a punch than the preceding week. Partner, what'd you think of it?
I definitely agree that this was better than last week's SmackDown, and I also agree that it was about equal to Raw this week. I'd put them both around a 7.5.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't great by any means, but it definitely wasn't awful. There were some things that could have been done better. And you know what? I might even say this SmackDown was an 8 or so because there wasn't really anything on this SmackDown that made me as angry as something that happened on Raw yesterday.
Right. Which, if you guys, don't know what that is, you can check out our Raw review on the channel. But with that said, let's get right into our first segment. Let's start unpacking this thing. Heat of the night. And admittedly, I don't have any heats of the night or any nitpicks. I mean, maybe I have stuff that when we talk them out, I'll see issues that arise for me about the things that developed tonight. But for right now, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, so I'm going to say this SmackDown has a clean slate. What about you?
Yeah, same here. I mean, the thing is, there were definitely some things that could have been done better. And I think part of that is just because there wasn't anything exceptional on the show. It was just like slightly above average all the way across the board, you know?
Right.
But it was more of just sort of developing stories, which I'm not used to from WWE because they didn't really blow anything off tonight.
Right.
It just felt like there were a lot of stories that got started or continued tonight. I'm curious to see where a lot of them go, and I can't even complain because, I wish the WWE would do more of that. It feels very Lucha Underground-esque.
Certainly, and we'll see how long they can continue this trend, because it definitely does feel fresher in a way because I think we're still in the honeymoon phase of the post-draft world, but we'll see how long the luster is able to be sustained. So, with that said, let us get right into our SmackDown live review. And we have this really cool thing here where it looks like we're getting a recap of Randy Orton, RKO, and Brock Lesnar, and by all counts we are. But it turns out that Randy Orton, Shane McMahon, and Daniel Bryan are all watching it on a television screen. And Shane says, you really caused a big mess here. You weren't supposed to be on Raw. We've got all this security now beefed up to watch your back because we think that Lesnar, may retaliate tonight. But Shane even concedes what you did was awesome. It caused me a headache, and I'm going to reprimand you personally later, but it was awesome. So what did you think about this, bro?
I like that they kind of have I missed a sense of team in these WWE backstage segments. I missed a sense of, I'm your boss, so I have to reprimand you, but that was cool that you did that. That makes our team look cool. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I appreciate that, and I missed that, and I loved that about when Paul Heyman was GM of SmackDown back in the day.
Oh, I would certainly agree with you. I think you're spot on there, and I really like this, and Randy Orton said, I'll be able to take care of myself. I think kind of implying I can drop Brock Lesnar again with another RKO. But,
if only.
If only indeed. But he does leave with the security. Do you have anything else you want to say about this? Actually, no, it's not even over yet because The Miz emerges.
Yeah.
And see, no wonder he's so miffed at everybody. Even I was ready to gloss over him. He's like, I think he compared himself to George Clooney. And he said, I retained my Intercontinental Championship. I successfully brought it home to SmackDown. Did I get what Dean Ambrose got? No, you did not. And, Miz more or less says, I better start getting treated with some respect. and you guys didn't even sound like you wanted to draft me. And then Brian pipes up, well, to be perfectly honest, I really didn't. I wanted to draft the Intercontinental Championship. You just happened to come with it. But Shane and Brian say it is a new era, so what we're going to do tonight is a triple threat match. And at first I thought Miz was going to have to defend his title in a triple threat match, but it turns out Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin versus Kalisto. Winner gets a shot at the Miz's Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. So what do you think about this development?
I thought this was really interesting. I kind of wish they would have had something where you actually had to earn it rather than just being plopped in this match and whoever wins gets the shot.
Right, well, it's funny because the thing is, I think I can make cases for both Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews at least, because it was just last week they were in that six-pack challenge for the WWE title, so this seemed like a logical demotion since they didn't win. The only real head-scratcher was Kalisto, but I think you needed to start featuring him on the brand. So, but yeah, I mean, I understood Crews and Corbin personally because they were, last week, about to compete for a main event title, so this just seems like a logical demotion again. So,
I mean, yeah, it's a logical demotion in a sense, but at the same time, is it really that much of a demotion when they're still getting the opportunity to face each other or get, a chance to go after a championship?
I mean demotion in the strictest sense of you go from the main event championship of the brand to the mid-card championship.
Right. I don't know. I guess I'm old school in that I think that, with the exceptions being like, your X Division title where your obvious goal is to win the world title, and like, the Gift of the Gods championship where the end game is still the world title, you should always, like, any championship should be the goal at the end of the day. And if it's the world or the US, either way, I think that should be valued. And if you say that one is a demotion versus the other, that just makes that so-called demotion championship look so bad.
And I could certainly see your point. I mean, with all the contentions we had at the U.S. Championship of people just briskly walking up to Rusev and getting title shots, I mean, I think your contention certainly has merit.
Yeah, so that's that. And I think that was just the announcement. We haven't actually gotten to talking about the match itself yet. So up next, really continuing on that whole backstage segment, we also got to see Ambrose show up next to Brian and Shane, and he kind of tells them and he's about to go out to the ring and address Dolph. And so he does, and he's out to the ring and asks Ziggler to come out.
Yeah, and what followed, I really liked. Dean getting right down to business, right down to brass tacks, saying, Dolph, come out here. And, just saying that I have worked for 2 years, scratched and clawed to get this championship, and more or less my reign's not going to end at SummerSlam, and, I've gone through all of this. You haven't gone through nearly as much as I have to get this. And I like Dolph's retort here, because I was worried with Dean, and I'm liking that Dean is still going with that theme of I've scratched, I've clawed, I'm obsessed with being champion, you're going to have to pry this from my cold dead hands. I love that. I love that fire. But I was worried that it was really going to burn Dolph, pun intended, and I really felt like he wasn't going to be able to hold his own. He was going to get bitched out, which would be a bad look for the number one contender. But I like that Dolph was actually quite candid. He said, you want to tell me that I don't know. I started out as a cheerleader, bro, mentioning the Spirit Squad. And Dolph just pretty much saying, all I wanted to do was this. When I was a little kid and I saw my first main event in Cleveland, Ohio, and then I went to Kent State and I broke wrestling records, it was all to get to this point. And Dean... What did you think about Dean's delivery of his promo interaction? Because I thought it was surprisingly aggressive in a way and definitely more heelish in a way. What did you think?
Yeah, I definitely got that sense. Kind of felt like Dean was... It felt like he was kind of in a holier-than-thou mode. Like, no matter what Dolph said, Dean felt like, well, you had your chance and you blew it, so I'm better than you.
Exactly. Like, he even goes, and I actually was afraid that the crowd was really going to turn on him and boo him, which I don't know if that was, like, the desired effect or not. But he said, like, I've never cared what people have thought, and you've been obsessing, with your look and your hair and what these people think. I don't care about any of that. I care about being WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and your problem is you get too caught up in everything else and not what's right in front of you. And more or less telling Dolph, up your freaking game. You're in the ring here with me now. And then Dolph starts to yell, and he's like, I'm the guy that's going to go to SummerSlam and take that from you. And Dean just completely no-sells it, and he goes, no, you're not. No, you're not.
That was a weird, like, borderline shoot, confrontational, weird segment, man. That was like, what?
Yeah, it was very jarring to say the least. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it felt like almost something I would say in Johnny Scumbag mode, say after a very emotional promo from Zack Ryder. Like Zack Ryder being like, I will be WWE World Heavyweight Champion. No, you're not. No, you won't.
yeah, you're right.
You're a failure. You need to look into the eyes of your mother, and you need to apologize that you ever did this to begin with.
Oh my God!
Regardless, that was my little. But yeah, I mean, Dean just totally no-selling Dolph. I'm really conflicted about it because later in the night, and we'll get to that, Dean does kind of a 180. And see, I said at the top of the show, I don't have any nitpicks, but that didn't mean like everything on this show set right with me. It's just that I don't know if it necessarily set wrong either. This is one of those times. I really don't know how I felt about all these exchanges. I love the fire of Dolph, and I love the confidence of Dean. I just don't know of the presentation, how I feel about it. I mean, what about you? I mean, we're taking the whole night into stock. What did you think about the dispositions of both of these guys?
Yeah, I think it kind of felt almost experimental, didn't it? Like it almost seemed like they were testing the waters, seeing how far they could go in one direction before being able to snap back and not lose any momentum.
Yeah, I think that's actually a perfect word for it, partner. I love the word choice in experimental because that's exactly what it felt like at the end of the day.
Yeah, so. It did. It was weird. Yeah, that's pretty much where I landed.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that, I guess. It's just, you got to be careful because Dean really is not only the top babyface of SmackDown, I'd still say one of the top babyfaces overall in the company, even with the emergence of guys like Finn Balor. And, Dean's still carrying the mantle.
Without a doubt. I think, to me, Ambrose is the man right now. Ambrose is the guy, number one, uncontested, most over babyface in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And he ends with, telling Dolph, you know what, you're going to find out that you're not as good as you think you are. And, he leaves Dolph with that. Like,
how shook must Ziggler have been after hearing that?
Well, given his proceeding actions from this segment, I'd say shook like he was in the middle of a damn earthquake. Like, it was bad for Dolph.
What do you
apparently.
Mean? What did he do that led you to believe that?
Well, I mean, we're going to get to that later. I didn't want to come out to it right now, but
I mean... Oh, you said this segment?
Well, I mean, no, I'm saying, like, he was so shook by this segment, given his proceeding actions.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I said the whole earthquake thing. So, yeah, because, I mean, later, and I'll just come out and say it, like, he does get assaulted by Bray immediately after this, and then Bray kind of reaffirms those sentiments of Dean, although he's more visceral, more direct about it, saying, this is the guy you want as champion, and it wasn't a resounding yes, which I'm glad they kind of
it wasn't a yes at all. I thought it was a no.
I did hear some yeses to me personally.
It sounded more, it felt to me, now maybe this was like cognitive bias or whatever, it felt to me like it was more of a no than a yes.
Right. And, after Bray lays Dolph out with Sister Abigail and he says all that, what he gets to is, tonight, I want to face you. If you win, you pretty much, affirm your right to have this championship match at SummerSlam. If you lose, I take your spot.
Yeah.
And I go on to face him. And immediately, and I've just got to pump the brakes for a second here, guys, and bring it full circle to something that my cohort and commentator here said. I don't know if it was on our fantasy draft video or in our draft discussion video or what have you. You said SmackDown would be best served, given their roster, building it around Bray Wyatt. And when you gave Wyatt the mic and you had him attack Dolph, I immediately became 10 times more interested. Now, that's not to denigrate the efforts of Dolph or Dean, and I really like Dolph tonight, but Bray completely changed the complexion of this whole thing in a way that really engaged me. So I just wanted to pump the brakes and say, I think you're absolutely right. This is what happens when you trust Bray to build your product.
Yep. That was the first thing I said. The first thing I said when we got done kind of running down which roster, who was on which roster and that kind of stuff. First thing I said was the only way SmackDown's going to be compelling is if they revolve the entire show around Bray Wyatt.
Right.
And they didn't necessarily do that tonight, but it also wasn't necessarily that compelling tonight.
Exactly.
So.
But I would say this is the most compelling segment of the night because it set the tone for everything else.
Yeah.
And Bray was the catalyst, so there you go.
Yep, exactly.
Anything else you want to say about this?
I want to say that Dolph's fire here was nice to see.
Yes, definitely.
He kind of channeled his inner 2014 Ziggler.
Right.
So it's nice to see Ziggler trying again. It feels like it's been so long since he's actually put effort into this right now, and it's just good to see, you know?
Right, absolutely. Completely agree with you.
So that being said, before we even move on to the next segment, I just want to address this. I absolutely love the new graphics that we've got on SmackDown now.
Oh, the whole new aesthetic. I mean, from the little info cards on the side of performers when they come out to the backstage set when they're doing
it'd be nice
things.
if there was freaking, because I'm still living in the 90s apparently. I don't have a widescreen TV, and all that information is off to the side and I can't see it.
Right.
It's like literally 75% of it is off my screen, and I can only see the left 25% when it's on the right side of the screen because I don't have a widescreen TV, and I don't think there's a setting on my TV that like makes the whole picture smaller but shows the black bars at the top and bottom so that it can fit the whole thing on there. I don't think my TV has that ability.
Right.
Not even like that's first world problems in like 2000.
Yeah, really. But I really do like it, yeah.
Yeah, so that's but really specifically what I'm referring to is the match graphics. Like we're going to show Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose as the opponents for each other at SummerSlam, but we're also going to have all this crazy, awesome cybernetic blue stuff going on around them.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
It kind of plays into. I've noticed that like Raw almost has like an old school theme, whereas SmackDown is very much based on like futuristic aesthetics.
Which is so weird, given that Raw kind of touts this new era, and SmackDown does as well. But I think Raw's got the roster to actually back that up for the most part.
You know what though? I think with Raw, I think that it's more like with Triple H. Like even though NXT is quote unquote the future, the NXT brand and that whole style is kind of revolving around the old school style of writing and booking.
So it's like old school meets new school in a way.
It's old school booking meets new school talent.
Right.
Which is exactly what ROH used to try and be when Jim Cornette was around.
Right.
So yeah, and SmackDown is just like, screw that, we're taking 3 leaps forward and we're gonna see you in 2085, people.
Exactly.
But I love the look. I love the look of the match card graphics and, like you said, the little info statistic card things that they show on the side of the screen during entrances. Yeah, I just love it. And even the Renee Young thing where like she has like this cool like futuristic setup, and it's probably going to be the same set for Talkin' Smack. And she has, this desk that people sit at, and it's not a traditional backstage interview. It's more of like a sit-down interview, but they can do it improvisational.
Yeah, I really like that too, dude. I thought that was a great touch.
Yeah, I like SmackDown's look more than Raw.
Definitely.
Which is not something I've been able to say in recent times.
Right.
Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. Anyway, let's move on. This was where we got that backstage segment where Dolph Ziggler tells Bryan and Shane to make the match with him and Wyatt, and that he wants it because he needs to prove it to himself that he can beat him.
Yeah, again, really love the fire. This is quite a throwback to the Daniel Bryan self-doubt storyline. I'll never forget the match he had with Ryback when that really started. That was
those forearms, though.
Yeah, dude, so good.
The inverted Indian deathlock with the forearms, still to this day, probably my single favorite non-championship Daniel Bryan moment.
Yeah, definitely.
That and him beating the Shield for the first time in a 6-man.
Yeah, that was great too.
He was on the first ever team to beat the Shield in a 6-man tag, and it was him that made Rollins tap out.
Right.
God, that was a great moment.
And I feel like they were trying to create that same aura here with Dolph just like, oh, none of you think I could, I'm going to go out, I'm going to have the match of my life, I'm going to do it. So I really like the fire
here. He still doesn't get it, does he?
No, I don't know if he does.
I'm going to go out there, I'm going to have a match of my life. Yeah, that, like, Dean acknowledges that you can do that. What he's saying is that you worry too much about that and not enough on winning.
Exactly.
So then we got our first match of the night, Kalisto, Corbin, and Cruz. And, it was all right. I don't really have any bad things to say about this match other than that, obviously, it's forgettable because the only thing I remember about it is the finish.
Yeah, I remember the finish with Cruz rolling up Kalisto, which, by the way, that finish felt rather sudden to me. I wasn't really expecting it that quickly. And Corbin had a sick deep six in this match. I freaking love Corbin, and we'll get more
And
to
it
him in a
was
second.
on Apollo Crews too. Like that size though.
Exactly.
That power.
Would just like to take the obligatory time here to say called it, because Apollo Crews is going to be facing The Miz at SummerSlam for the IC Championship. So, glad I saw that one coming. And should be a very good match. We'll see how it goes. But after the match, Baron Corbin's beating up Kalisto, so we're continuing that whole feud. Be interested to see how that plays out. Apollo tries coming in, but then he's holding his own against Corbin for the moment. But then Miz comes in, he evens the odds. He does a skull-crushing finale to Crews. That's how he sends a message. And then Corbin just like lying in wait. Miz turns around. He eats an end of days. Corbin stands tall. And honestly, even though he lost, one, he didn't get pinned, and two, he looked like the most badass person in that ring. I freaking love Baron Corbin, dude.
Do you want to know why he looked like the most baddest person in that ring?
Because he is.
Exactly, because he is.
There you go, dude. There you go.
So then we got our second match of the night, almost immediately after this, Becky Lynch versus Eva Marie, but never actually happened because Eva claimed to pull something in her left leg, in her left knee, and we got an announcement that this match will not take place.
What do you think about this whole, I don't want to call it build, but I guess direction for Eva Marie, feigning an injury to start? We don't know if this is going to be a running gag, but how do you feel about the first step they've taken with her now? Do you agree with this?
It's one of three things, and the first two are absolutely brilliant, and the third one is probably what's actually happening.
Right.
So the first possibility is, and actually I shouldn't say three, it really is two. One is brilliant, and the other one is still pretty smart, but more likely to actually be happening. The one that I think would be brilliant is if they were doing this all just to sort of protect Eva Marie. Last week she comes out and doesn't talk. She's the only woman on the roster that didn't talk last week. Now this week she comes out and doesn't wrestle. So they're basically saying, we want you to see Eva Marie. We want you to know she's on the roster, but we don't want her to actually do anything other than be good looking.
Right.
It's hilarious. But the other option is that they're doing this to build up heat. And they don't really care about protecting her. They're just doing this because they know that she's a heat magnet. They're trying to build on that.
Right, and
It might even be a combination of both, honestly.
And first of all, I do agree with you. I think I'm actually more inclined that it's probably a combination of both. And two, and I really want to stress this now that we're on a TWitWoW forum, because, and again, I thoroughly enjoyed live tweeting Smackdown night. You guys are the best. I love the feedback I get. I love that all of you come on the ride with me. Scum Squad for life. But as I tweeted out, I hope people can see the forest for the trees with this. Because to me, if you are building Eva, and it's confirmed, I think Brian confirmed it on a radio show, like SmackDown is going to get its own women's championship. I think SmackDown, you can quote me on this, would be smart to have Eva as the inaugural champion. Because for all the reasons that we've ever talked about Eva Marie. And then I would have Becky be the second champion, because I feel like she is so sympathetic and so over with the crowd as a babyface, they would relish in the image of her having Eva locked into a disarmor and ending her championship reign after how long? I mean, and that's the thing. I would make Eva Marie's reign honky-tonk man-esque in the sense that, oh, this performer, in our eyes, they're a complete joke, but they've just held on to the championship for this ridiculously long amount of time. And yeah, I think that could be great for Becky in the long run, because she'll be the savior of everybody's eyesight, having to see Eva Marie work on their TVs or, at the arena, what have you. So yeah, I really do hope that they're protecting Eva and they're building her up in their own way to give her a title run, because I'm trying to think about the babyfaces that could be made from such a course of action.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my thing is with Eva, I don't know if they would even want her to be the first champion. Maybe, I don't want this to come off as wishful thinking, because I think you and I are both kind of getting around to the same place at the end. I would say give Becky the title first.
Right.
But only have her hold it for like a month, and then Eva cheats to beat her.
That could also work.
And the reason that I say that is because I feel like in order to crown your first ever SmackDown Women's Champion, you'd have to hold some kind of tournament, right?
Right.
I mean, unless you just have a 6-way match, in which case, like, one fall to a finish, that's like the flimsiest way to crown a champion ever.
Right.
But, you know, if they do hold a tournament, they're not just going to have Eva win fluky one match after another, just keep winning fluky, you know?
Right.
So it makes sense that Becky would really prove she is the best woman on SmackDown, but then next thing you know, Eva Marie sneaks out from under her, steals the title from her cheatily, and that gives Becky a new obstacle to kind of climb and try and overcome.
Right. It's worth noting, and I don't know if they're going to do this with both.
Or, alternatively, you could give Becky the title and then not have Eva Marie go after her because Emma is coming back from injury soon, hopefully.
That is true. And you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of hope they put Emma on SmackDown.
So do I, because we need legitimate heels on SmackDown that aren't Eva Marie, because Eva Marie right now is the only legitimate heel on SmackDown, and if you're going to try and tell me Natalya, you can seriously just stop right now while you're ahead of yourself, because she's not legitimate at all.
Now, I'm going to answer your point, and then I'm going to tack one on myself.
Go ahead.
One, as far as legitimate heels go, we were even talking about it the other day, you and I. If Victoria's coming back, I think she needs to be a heel. Because I loved her heel work when she first came into the business.
She won't be a heel at first, though. I mean, she might end up being a heel long run, but I think at first, just because you've got this legendary female wrestler coming back who's always been an advocate for the women being athletes first, models second.
Right.
I think that just kind of her outlook and the way that people appreciate her now, because she's more popular now than I think she ever was when she was actually an active wrestler in WWE.
I would agree. And, you know, it's funny you say that because it brings back sentiments that I know you and I both heard from Al Snow. You know, you're not really an employee. You go and you raise your stock elsewhere, and I feel like Victoria did that.
Yeah.
And I feel like her stock's even higher now coming back into the WWE than, like you said, it was when she was actively competing there. But I agree with you. She'll start out babyface at first, I think, because of the nostalgia pop and, oh my God, it's Victoria. Sooner or later, though, I think she should turn. And my second point that I wanted to make, because Brian also brought this up, and I don't know if he means this for both the SmackDown Women's Championship and Tag Team titles, because they're going to be getting their own Tag Team titles too. He said, we're in no rush to introduce them. So I wonder how long we're going to be dragging this out, because ideally, to me, we would crown at least one of those champions, you know, the inaugural champion, at the first SmackDown exclusive event, Backlash. So that gives you a good chunk of time to get your pieces in play, and we need to get some legitimate heels on the board, you know, besides Eva, to your point. Maybe Alexa could really be built up. We still, ever since that whole introduction thing, we haven't seen her. We haven't seen Naomi. Those are two options you could go with. I'd personally, even though I am a Naomi fan, I'd opt for Alexa in that case. So you have things you could do. I'm just going to be very interested in how they respond to this whole thing. You know, what are they going to do with the pieces they have in play?
You know, based on, and I completely forgot that Victoria was coming back to SmackDown, if she does. And the thing is, there's actually, like, people were saying, like, was she seriously hyping up SmackDown today for a sign? Apparently there was a sign in the crowd that it was about her or her company or something like that.
Right.
So that doesn't even mean that she has to actually be re-signed to WWE. I don't think she's necessarily even going to be on SmackDown. So I don't want to guarantee or move forward under the impression that that's a sure thing.
Oh yes, of course.
That being said, if she is, maybe we could have Queen of Strong Style Emma as a face on SmackDown.
That could work.
Don't revert back to Bubbles and Goofy, you know, barely being able to do a skin in the cat kind of thing, because that was great, but I think that it's kind of outgrown its run.
Right.
But her current attitude is badass, and people want to like badass, and if you have her do everything that she's been doing from NXT to the main roster in her very, very few, you know, episodes of Raw that she was on the main roster before she got injured, but have her target Eva and Natalya, I think that would work.
I agree with you. I do think that would have a great chance of succeeding. So
That said, though,
yeah.
if Victoria's not coming back, Emma needs to come back on SmackDown as a heel.
Yes, and listen, no disrespect to any of the Becky Lynch fans. I'm specifically looking at you, Alex Foster. We love you. I do agree she needs a title run, but right up there is Emma. Emma
Dude,
needs to be a women's champion.
you know what? Here's the thing. Like we talk about the women are just as talented as the men and need to be given a proper spot to shine just like the men.
Exactly.
I would, if you have Emma and Victoria both coming back within a month or so of each other, I would have them team up.
Ooh, that'd be so good.
And I would have Victoria be the one that turns on Emma, turning Victoria heel and Emma face.
You know what, dude? And now this is purely fantasy booking my response here. It's a
So
shame
it's fine, so that's okay.
yeah, it's a shame that like all this stuff like you talked about at tournaments. It's a shame that isn't all happening like sooner and Victoria's return like it's still an ambiguity because you saying that I would love like after that turn if it was like Emma and Victoria in the finals. 'Cause I think those two could tear it up.
Yeah,
and it would definitely
And Emma too. Like I get that she's young and she's kind of a part of the new generation, but she is old school.
right.
So she could really tear it up in there with Victoria.
Yeah, my only fear, because I'm loving everything you're saying right now, as I think any other Emma fan is. I mean, I'm salivating over it.
I'm one myself. I love Emma. She's so good. I can't wait for her to come back.
Freaking amazing. I fucking love her since day one. Just like, oh my god. Still my woman at heart. But, in all seriousness.
You even loved her back when she was the goofy bubble popper.
Yeah, that's right. Like,
and then the divorce happened and everything changed.
Yeah, she thought she could do better, and I respectfully disagree, but here we are. So, but in all seriousness, what I worry about is that WWE is instead like they'll go with the Emma babyface thing, but it'll be on Raw, and she's gonna feud with Dana Brooke because I still can't stop thinking about the first tweet when she saw Dana and Charlotte together. She was more or less like, what's this? I taught you everything that you know, and she seemed really mad about it. So I'm hoping they don't turn that into an angle, though WWE they probably are. And that's really disappointing because I think after an injury and knowing what a player she can be with her work, especially her heel work, down in NXT, she needs to be on SmackDown and inject some much-needed life into that women's division. God, I want it so bad, and screw you for making me want it, because they're probably going to stick her on Raw, and I don't really know what happens to her then. Because as good as she is, I do kind of worry about her being overshadowed a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So we'll see.
Yeah, sadly, I guess she had to get surgery back in May. I didn't realize that it was that serious of an injury.
Yeah, I was just wondering, wasn't it back surgery too? Like, wasn't it like...
I'm not sure.
I felt like it was really serious stuff, and I was quite concerned, but... sooner she comes back, the better, man, because I'm just so stoked on her. You're so stoked on her. So many people so stoked on her. So we got to get her. We got to get her right. We got to get her where she belongs in that main event women's championship scene. So we'll see.
On July 31st, she posted a picture of herself in her full heel gear with the shades and the shoulder pads and everything with just "miss this" in text.
We miss it too. We're waiting for you. You have a division to save, damn it, and you need to take that championship because fuck everybody else, and even partially you, Becky, though I promise you'll get your turn. I really need this right now.
Dude, and the crazy thing too with Emma is like I feel like she is that top technical in-ring heel that everyone thinks Natalya is, even though she's not.
I know, right? Like, I feel like Natalya did average work tonight. I don't want to say, like, oh, she did awful. I thought it was, good enough.
She was awful.
There you go. But, like, you and I both, we look at Emma and we're like, that should have been the top heel. And these are times, I mean, I always curse when a performer gets injured because, everybody's got to make a living and it sucks. But especially when you know that something's coming for that performer, that's when it hurts even worse. And I feel like Emma was really turning a corner. She had Dana Brooke. She got the one win on TV over Becky Lynch, and it seemed like their program was really going to kick up, and then she gets injured. So I think to compensate, you need to return her in a huge way. And just the idea that we've talked more about Emma, who isn't even here, than we do about Eva Marie, who's actually getting the build-up, it seems like, tells you everything you need to know about how we feel about Emma and what we want the direction of the SmackDown's women's division to be. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, we need to stop fantasy booking and talking about things that aren't happening right now because, Eva Marie is on the roster, and we need to talk about her.
Yeah, we have a product to focus on, damn it, regardless of how questionable it may be at times and lack of Emma that it may possess. Oh, God, my life. So what came after
about
this?
buying the network for a month exclusively so that I can go back and watch Emma's most recent NXT run as the Queen of Strong Style.
Those matches with Asuka, though, I'll tell you, man.
How about those matches with everyone, though?
I know, right? Those curb stomps, man. Damn. Oh, so good. So, yeah, what happened next?
Carmella was actually interviewed by Renee Young about Eva Marie's injury, and she said she knows a scam artist when she sees one, and she thinks Eva Marie is a wannabe Kardashian, and next thing you know, Natalya shows up.
Yeah, and Natalya is like, oh, well, you should be interviewing me. I was talking to my uncle, Bret Hart, Hall of Famer, and I'm like, oh my god, we're doing this, except the only difference is, like, you're really being out and out about it. You're trying to get heat from it. And then Carmella, rightly, because this is the second week in a row now she's been interrupted, was like, oh, you got a problem? I don't need a legendary lineage or any of this crap to take care of my business. And more or less Carmella lays down the gauntlet, and Natalya's just like, oh, well, sure. So Crazy Cat Lady accepts the match with Carmella here. And that's what I got out of it.
The irony is that when the match actually happened, the match never actually happened.
Exactly. So that's 2 matches with the women's division that just don't happen.
Yeah.
Which makes me think, like, you have to have a plan here, right, WWE?
That's what I was saying earlier when I said they didn't really do anything like blow off or anything like that, but they started a lot of stuff.
Right.
Or at least it seems like they started a lot of stuff. Then again, they could go full WWE and start things and then not finish them, which wouldn't surprise anyone.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, one heel doesn't even have a match because, oh, I'm injured. And the other one doesn't because, well, she disrespected me, damn it. She doesn't deserve to grapple with me. And she just beats the shit out of Carmella, which, poor Carmella, again, because she gets hung down for the second straight week, only this was even more visceral. And I was left asking myself, well, where's Alexa Bliss? Which shows you, I guess, how much of a fan I've become of her, relative to the SmackDown women's division. Because I'd take Alexa Bliss doing this over Natalya any day of the week. So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'd also take Emma doing this, but we need to stop.
Well, yeah, we said we get off that train. Already so sad. So, what happened next?
You just keep pushing us along.
I don't want to linger on the festering wounds in my life, okay?
Yeah, American Alpha debuted next.
Yes.
Now we can get off of talking about the women so that we can finally mentally block out that Emma's not around.
And I'll tell you, it's funny that I was just talking about festering wounds because there's no better disinfectant than American Alpha. Oh my goodness, I freaking love these guys. Did you know that? Did you know I freaking love these guys?
No.
I say it every fucking time they're on there, but yeah.
You do? I must have not been paying attention.
I know that's a running theme in my life, but this isn't about me, and I'm glad it isn't about me, because it's about American Alpha and how amazing they are. I know that, well, I shouldn't say I know. I think that WWE may want a heel tag team to be their inaugural tag team champions, but I just hope it's Alpha. I just hope you just go with those guys.
You literally assume, or at the very least hope, that the first champion of anything is going to be a heel.
I mean, that I just feel like is a safe bet to make. I don't know. We'll see. But
it never actually happens, though, because, think about this. What were the 2 most recent world titles that were created and crowned a first champion?
What now? The WWE World Heavyweight Championship, because I know they got a new belt design.
No, I'm talking about in the wrestling world, just in general.
Well, I mean the Lucha Underground Championship, right?
Prince Puma.
And then what's the other one?
The NXT Championship, Seth Rollins when he was a face.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, clearly there is precedent for faces winning. It's just, I don't know. We'll see how the main roster kind of handles business, because they unveiled a new women's championship. Charlotte walked out with that. Her reign didn't end, and, Sasha didn't win it at Mania. And now I'm just thinking with these belts, I still think right now, and again, not to jump the gun, but for the Universal Championship, I still think Seth's winning that. So it's kind of an even keel in my mind, if those things pan out, of course. But yeah, I mean, I obviously would mark the fuck out if American Alpha is kind of the trendsetter for the SmackDown tag team titles.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that American Alpha is going to be the first champions on that brand.
Which they better be. The only other thing I would accept, and I'm being dead serious here, would be either Breezango, because they're amazing.
Or the Ascension.
Or the Ascension, if they're built properly. And I really want to stress that before everybody comes after me, because we've seen the Ascension in NXT. I think it can work on the main roster. You just have to give a shit. And I think that's been the only problem. It isn't the Ascension at all. It's WWE not seeing in the Ascension their true value, which was constantly expressed in NXT. So, yeah, NXT Ascension-esque booking, that I can get behind with them winning the championships and Alpha chasing them, or Breezango if we're going to go the heel route, because, again, those guys are just wonderful. But, yeah, American Alpha has a great debut here against a team which many of you are probably surprised I threw under the bus here when talking about heel teams, the Vaudevillains. And that's really because they've been so demoted and there's just no connection with this gimmick on the main roster. I think I'd be foolish, honestly, to put any stock in them. And I certainly would have been foolish to do that tonight, because American Alpha handed them their asses. So, what did you think of this debut?
Dude, this was everything that you could have possibly hoped for, unless you had in your mind that we're going to get, like, a 20-minute classic with, like, the Revival.
Right.
Who aren't even on the SmackDown roster, so that's not happening. But, yeah, like, given the current state of the SmackDown tag division, this is basically all you could expect from their debut.
It was so good.
They weren't going to put on one of their amazing 20-minute instant classic matches like what they did with the Revival so many times in NXT, but they impressed. They got the crowd to kind of know why the hype behind them exists. They got to show off a little bit. It was a good time.
And can I just say, being pure absolute fanboy, I love now that Mauro Ranallo is going to be calling American Alpha matches, because it's just going to be so good. And I know people might be thinking, well, what about JBL, John? That's not important right now. Because, my fantasy just sees him in a corner somewhere, just far away from that table. But even JBL, I have to give him credit, because I think he had lines like, these are two very legitimate guys. Like, I feel like it was either him or David Otunga really put these guys over before the match even started. And I think it was JBL, because I've been smiling at myself being like, wow, JBL doing something right for once. So thank you, JBL, for really making the American Alpha seem like a huge deal. See, that's where JBL could be an asset. If he toned it down a bit, went back to his 2006 commentary, and put guys over like that, at least initially, whether face or heel, making them seem like a big deal, and then maybe being like, oh, I don't really like those guys or whatever. He is a former WWE champion. He's an accomplished wrestler. I think that means something, and he used that to really make American Alpha seem legit, and I just appreciated that. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this debut was great. Like I tweeted out, when I was live tweeting SmackDown, every time I see these guys, I'm a kid again, just without fail. I don't care if it's a squash match or, as you said, a 20-minute clinic with the Revival. I am a kid again when I see these guys, and I love everything that they're about. So I can't wait to see how the tag team division kind of responds to the emergence of Alpha, and especially the introduction of those tag team titles whenever they come into play. It's going to be very fun to watch.
Definitely, yeah. Alpha are really head and shoulders above every other team on SmackDown, because right now on SmackDown, you've got them, the Usos, the Ascension, Breezango, and the Vaudevillains, and that is your entire tag team division.
How much do you want it back? Because we've been talking about, is it going to be a heel? Is it going to be a face team? Maybe it will be a face team, because I could actually see, just because they know that if you give those two teams time, that maybe it would really be a great match. Usos versus American Alpha and whatever finals they have for those tag team titles. I could see that too. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, the Hype Bros are also on SmackDown.
Oh, well, no wonder we forgot about them until the last minute. Well, I mean, you remember them.
Well,
I would have
to be
forgotten
fair,
altogether.
the only reason I forgot about them is because they weren't drafted as the Hype Bros. They were just Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley getting drafted separately.
Right, right.
Sorry to kind of ruin your
No,
shitting
it's
Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder session, but I just wanted to clear that up.
no, that's fine. I mean, it
You know what
doesn't
tag
matter.
team I'd like to see though, that we kind of got a little bit of maybe a little hint of tonight, and unfortunately it's another face team, but Apollo Crews and Kalisto would be a pretty decent team.
Ooh, that would be interesting. We'll see, man.
And
We'll
I was
see.
kind of hoping we'd see a tag team match with those two guys going against Corbin and Miz, but Corbin attacked Miz, so that's not happening.
Yeah, it isn't because Baron
Maybe,
Corbin.
dude, maybe this is easy. Tag team tournament finals, the American Alpha versus Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan.
Oh, that could be. You know, it's funny, dude.
I forgot about Rowan again, didn't you?
No, I remembered Rowan. I just thought because you just got done mentioning Baron Corbin, you were going to say Baron Corbin and Rhino because those two teams faced off in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and we know that they can put on a good match.
Yeah,
So
and we know that they can put on a good match, but Corbin and Rhino have no ties with the main roster.
exactly. So
unless they repeat that entire feud to set them up as a team, which I genuinely hope they don't, that's not going to happen.
right.
So,
But yeah, I totally dig your finals too. I mean, that makes American Alpha look freaking amazing, you know, being in there with Bray Wyatt. I mean, obviously I know you, me, and I think every other Bray Wyatt fan just clamoring like, pursue that championship, pursue that world title. But that would be a worthwhile deviation to me, working with a team like Alpha, so I'd forget
yeah,
it.
and really that would be, I mean, if Bray and Rowan decide to be a tag team rather than just, being a team who happen to compete as singles wrestlers, they would instantly be the most credible heel team in the entirety of WWE, not just SmackDown.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great tag team discussion there. Alpha does get the win after Grand Amplitude.
Well, yeah, what do you think they're going to lose on their debut?
Fuck that. So, yeah, great win for Alpha. I'm happy, and it was great.
And then we move on to the AJ Styles, John Cena talking segment. And John, I described this entire thing on TWitWoW, so what I really want is your opinion on everything that was said here.
You know what's funny? Like, I liked what AJ did. You know, like calling out John Cena. And I even tweeted out as a joke, Y2 AJ lives, because AJ referred to the kids in the crowd as stupid idiot kids.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh man, they're still friendship goals, fan fiction, all that good shit.
You know why he did that, right?
Why did he do that?
Just because he couldn't think of a better word to follow stupid with.
Well, I mean, sure, but I like my idea better.
It wasn't an intentional throw out to Jericho. If anything, I think he was angry at himself for using Jericho's phrase.
Look, let me just have this, okay?
You can't have it. No, you don't deserve this.
You know what? I'm doing it now. He also blames the parents in the audience because, you expect your children for getting a trophy to participate. And then AJ says, well, I deserve something. I'm phenomenal. And just really going like, I'm the phenomenal AJ Styles. I'm great. I'm this, I'm that. And then when John Cena retorts, what I like about it is, and you know what? It's funny because at first I'm like, oh, this is typical John Cena cheese. Point out the kid in the crowd. Point out the father in the crowd. Like, oh, I'm bringing families together. And it was, like, John Cena does that shtick, but there was something about how he did it tonight, maybe because he's like, oh, I love this, and he acknowledged, like, he's doing other stuff, but WWE will always be his home. I really liked how he went about this particular variation of his cheese. Like, I just felt like it was a better presentation than just pointing out the kid with cancer in the audience and just kind of riding that wave. He kind of made it a bigger theme, like, WWE is my home, I've built it. I'm a name here. You're only here because you're a really great wrestler, which again, going back to that whole thing, Cena spitting that fire. And you've already said, or like you already know, if this doesn't work out, you're on a train to somewhere else. You're going to go somewhere else. And that's the dichotomy Cena wanted to present. I'm about WWE. You're simply about being a wrestler, and there's no real home for you. You'll just go wherever your talents take you.
Yeah. I kind of, at the same time, I feel like Cena was like shaming AJ Styles for being really, really good at what he does and going after money.
Right.
Like, how dare you hone your craft in multiple countries while there's this place here that I've been my entire life?
How dare you keep the lights on and bread on the table?
Loyalty
Come on.
is so much more important than experience, damn it.
Exactly. And yet it's funny because if the dirt sheets are to be believed, which I say that, really emphasizing if.
Cena's taking a break again.
No, I wasn't even going to say that.
But it's also true. He's not even
that's
booked
also-
for Backlash.
Yeah, that is true, which is going to be so weird for that pay-per-view. So
Not
weird.
really. It's just going to be Styles Ambrose.
Well, I mean, I just say it's weird because it's your first SmackDown exclusive event. And I
You're
think
not going to have, John Cena. But again, though, I can't even call Cena the face of SmackDown because Ambrose is now.
Right.
Maybe that's what's weird to you is that like we've made this transition and you're still trying to catch up.
Maybe. That very well could be. But what's funny about the whole Styles thing is that, again, if they're to be believed, Vince wanted to sign him 10 years ago anyway.
Yeah.
So, not really AJ's fault there, asshole. But,
and I kind of wish AJ would have brought that up.
yeah, that would have been a great, horseshoe kind of moment. It'd be like, you thought your boss was fawning over you all these years, and the moment he saw me compete, he wishes he could have turned back the hands of time and, signed me 10 years ago. That would have been great. But yeah, what we get
Vince
around.
McMahon told me personally that he wishes he would have signed me 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Gotta nail that Georgia accent, though.
There you go. What we get around to is Cena Styles 2 at SummerSlam.
Which we knew was coming.
Yeah, everybody and Stevie Wonder knew it was coming. So Styles says, no club, no excuses, we settle it. And then, like you mentioned on TWitWoW, AJ kind of closes out with that line, when I beat you at SummerSlam, Tuesday night on SmackDown Live afterwards.
He's not even going to show up because he's got bookings.
Well, yes, but that's not what AJ said.
No, it's not. It's not. AJ, you go ahead.
AJ said, you're going to have to come out here and say that AJ Styles is better than me. And if you don't do that, you're a liar. And if you do it, you're a loser. Either way, I win. And that's
drop.
Exactly.
And
that was a great closer by AJ.
Yes,
I really like that.
Definitely.
But, of course, you are right. Cena won't even be on there, which AJ will probably take advantage of and be like, Cena couldn't even show his face. Make that a whole thing. So, yeah.
It's hilarious because you're right.
Which maybe will actually facilitate Ambrose coming out and being like, I know you were expecting Cena, but I'm really getting sick and tired of you running your mouth. And maybe that's how we get the SmackDown Backlash main event, Styles Ambrose. I don't know.
Nah, it'll probably be some kind of match.
It's always some kind of match. You're right.
For Shane, I think it is, yeah.
Right.
That's
Which, I mean, kudos to him, because how many times do we say we're pissed that a guy gets a title shot either by, walking up to the champion, Rusev.
No, I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out a theme and a trend that I've noticed.
Oh, yeah, I know you're not complaining. I'm just saying for my sake, because it may seem like I'm complaining. I agree with you. It is a good thing, because it definitely makes him seem legit, so we probably will go that route. But, yeah, great stuff here between Styles and Cena.
Yeah, exactly. So then have our fourth match of the night. We only had 5 matches tonight, and 2 of them, or I guess we would have had 6, but 2 of them didn't happen. So we actually had 4 matches tonight in a 2-hour show. We had the Intercontinental title #1 contender triple threat, American Alpha debut, and then the third match was this one, and then the fourth match was your main event of the evening. But let's get back to this one. Fandango versus Randy Orton.
Not really much to say here. I do like that Randy Orton made a comment about Fandango on Battleground, and then Fandango replied in some kind of video. I don't know if it was like a Vine or what, but he laid that challenge, and then it culminates in this match here. I did think that was clever.
Yeah. I don't think that dude. Again, though, this is so classic WWE. They just make their mistakes. And then they just keep rolling, and if they feel like they want to acknowledge a mistake, all they have to do is hindsight and make it look like that was intentional.
Right. Which,
Randy intentionally called out Fandango because we were going to have this match happen between them where Fandango tries to get revenge.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and yeah, it even sounds ludicrous when you say it out loud. It's good recovery, I should say, by WWE making the most of maybe a blunder on their end. Like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have had a guy go out there and, pretty much bury another guy. But regardless, I mean,
writing history.
Exactly. Surprised how even keel this match was. I think you even said the same thing on TWitWoW. But ultimately Orton does, or he was about to anyway, get the win with an RKO. But, Brock Lesnar emerges. He even kind of distracted Orton a little bit. Fandango tried to capitalize. That's when he ate the RKO. But then Lesnar sprinted for the ring. He F5'd Orton, and then he quickly got out. And then Shane and security was like, oh, we got to get him out of here. What is this? And
it wasn't as entertaining as Monday, though, because Stephanie was hilarious on Raw.
Yeah.
She's talking about, and now he's taking off his shirt. Somebody get him.
And I think I even heard her say, this is all Shane's fault. You won't find any reason to bring it back to Shane and blame him.
Yep.
So good.
That's funny.
I really wish that we could have gotten a ref bump, and then, after they have F5, Fandango, crawls back in the ring, he drapes the arm over, and he beat Orton. You're like, yeah, who's the bitch now? But we didn't get that. Match ends, but again, like I said on TWitWoW, Fandango didn't eat the pin, which means Breezango is clearly getting a push, because they didn't diminish Fandango's momentum. So Breezango is secure.
Yes, Orton hit the RKO, which means the match was probably over, but Fandango actually got some decent offense in on Orton.
Not only did he get decent offense in on Orton, but I think Fandango rolled out of the ring after the RKO, so that pin wasn't guaranteed, Randy. In your face.
That means we might get a rematch next week.
We might, and then, you know what, honestly, that'll probably be...
feud of the century, Fandango versus Randy Orton. I love it.
I'd love for him to beat Orton one time, and I love Orton to death. I can't wait for his match with Lesnar, obviously. We've been clamoring for that match forever, you and I. But yeah, Fandango just getting a win and being like, that'll teach you to mention my name in a promo. So good.
In a demeaning context.
In a demeaning context. You're not even a real journalism.
You're not even a real wrestling, Randy.
We can only dream, people. We can only dream. But do you have anything you want to say about this outside of what you said on TWitWoW and everything about Orton and Lesnar and all this stuff?
He smells like baby oil.
Well said.
Sorry, that was a really bad Fandango impression. Kind of referring back to what he said that Layla smells like cinnamon toast crunch.
Toast crunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Fandango. Every time he speaks is a good thing.
You're so right.
He's so good.
Hey, with the roster the way it's looking, I mean, I know Miz and everybody's got to get their run to the Intercontinental Championship eventually. Maybe Fandango could finally get that IC title run that Stone Cold thought he would get 6 months after his initial WWE debut.
Fandango versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship at Backlash. Book it.
Dude, I could dig that, because I don't think many people remember the actual mid-card title match he had when Big E was Intercontinental Champion, and that was a genuinely good match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Let's get to it. Apollo Crews Fandango. Book it.
Hashtag push Fandango. Book it.
Exactly. There you go.
Hashtag push Fandango. Tweet it.
Ooh.
I know.
All right. So, anything else you want to say about this?
Okay. No, but we can move on to Heath Slater.
Yes. Just like WWE apparently wants to move on from Heath Slater.
I said to Heath Slater.
I know. I said, we're going to move on. But WWE, just like WWE, they want to move on from Heath Slater. So we're both moving on, but in a different way. And WWE, clearly, they're just content with, making Heath Slater
making
kind of
a fool out of him.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't deserve this.
No, he doesn't.
Actually, he does. He deserves to be on TV every week on both shows. He's so good.
He is. That I will concur. Interrupts Brian on the phone. Brian is apparently like, oh my God, everything's happening, all that security had to tend to Brock. And that's why Heath was able to get in the office, which again, nice little thing there. Oh, because all the security was disposed, that gave Heath a window. And, he says, look, just give me a chance. I'm a real asset. Let me show you what the one-man band, baby, can do. And Brian's like, oh, if you want to be on SmackDown Live, you got to earn it. So I'll tell you what, you're going to have a match next week. And if you win, you get a contract. Heath's like, great, that's what I'm talking about. Who's my opponent? Well, your opponent. And then Heath gets gored. And then Brian's like, is Rhino? And then he goes back on the phone. Yeah, I think I'm going to need a medic here in my office.
Like an actual medic.
Yeah, like an actual medic here in my office. And, and I said it on TWitWoW, I'm going to say it again here. I hope Heath beats Rhino next week.
He won't.
So, he won't.
He's going to get squashed in like 2 minutes.
But that's exactly why I said hope. And at least he'll be prepared for it this time, unlike when he was betrayed by Jinder Mahal yesterday.
I know, that bastard.
Oh, Heath. And it's funny, you'd think that I would want to shove in Heath's face how much of a failure he is, because my ammunition is of the ample variety.
It is.
But I'm really kind of pulling for him here.
He's got ample munition.
Indeed. And, maybe I'm only pulling for him because then when he succeeds, I just can't wait to see him have every other dream of his after being signed go unfulfilled. Being a champion? Nah. Getting quality matches? Nah. Maybe I just want to see him suffer. Maybe that's where this is coming from. So we'll see what happens.
That seems really mean, John. You should really reconsider your stance on that.
I won't. I think we're good here. Yeah, I think we got...
I mean no disrespect. But you're
obviously
wrong.
Oh, Mark. Who's anything but.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So then we got a Renee Young interview with Dean Ambrose, and really they just kind of, chatted a little bit about the number one contender situation with Dolph Ziggler and Bray Wyatt.
Dean continues to be a dick here, which, if this is the kind of heel he's going to be in the future, if he ever does formally have a turn, which I still believe he will, I don't know, I could really sink my teeth into this Dean Ambrose, because he's just like, oh, I'm really surprised by Dolph. Normally it takes him a little longer than this to completely self-destruct. And I'm like, oh, Dean, you dickweed. I love you. Yeah, this is so good. This is so good.
Oh, Dean.
What'd you think?
To me, this whole don't care Dean Ambrose character is very, very much not something that's targeting me as a target audience. This is more directed at casual fans, and if you want proof of that, my mom, who is, she watches every week, but she still, cheers for the good guys and boos the bad guys and that kind of stuff, and she is just in love with this version of Dean Ambrose.
So it's not really connecting with you, but it's connecting with like another type of audience, like you said, the casual fans. So that's probably why they'll keep running with it. Yeah. Let me just ask you something though, because we already did so much fantasy booking earlier in the show with Emma and the women's division. One thing, now I doubt it, and I'm going to say right now that I doubt it, but like Dean, when he speaks about the title, and I've even commented that I love this because he makes the title seem like everything. When he loses that belt, do you think that could be a chance for character development for Ambrose? Like maybe he goes off the deep end because he lost everything he worked so hard for?
Maybe.
I would like that personally. Yeah. I really would, yeah. Like, do that. But yeah, nonchalant Dean Ambrose, I can dig it. So there you go.
All right. Well, I mean, hey, that's all we can ask for, right?
Absolutely.
So then new backstage correspondent Charlie Caruso tries to get an interview with Randy Orton, but he just ignores her and walks away.
Yeah. So that's what I think of you, correspondent. And
John, say it with me. Ready?
Yeah.
Charlie
Caruso.
Oh,
I know her name. I'm just saying, like, Orton's acting indifferent towards her. Like, didn't even give her the time of day.
Oh, I thought you weren't sure what her name was, and that's why you said correspondent.
Yeah, don't give me lessons. No, I'm just kidding. I really appreciate you having my back, but yeah, I didn't.
She's new. Some people might need introductions to her. That's kind of like what we did with Andrea DeMarco a few months ago when she first showed up at NXT.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But yeah, just Orton seems so indifferent. Like, I don't know who you are, and I don't care. I just got F5. I got to get my night back on a good track. So
I can't wait to see how he responds on Raw.
Yeah, man. Maybe they'll just keep going back and forth, and then Shane and, Brian and Stephanie and Mick are just all going to collectively throw their hands up in the air and be like, well, this isn't our show anymore. It was a fun concept while we lasted. Fuck you guys. And,
no, it's going to last until SummerSlam, and then Brock's going to go away for 6 months, and we're not going to have to worry about the crossovers anymore, other than maybe Heath Slater still.
Yeah, until he gets signed somewhere. Like,
I love, though, that they just keep on bringing in random new people to sign with each brand. at the expense of Heath Slater. That's a great story.
Yeah, in fact, honestly,
I want Victoria to beat Heath Slater in a match one week.
dude, that would be hilarious. And it's funny you say that because I guess this is the best way to kind of work this in. I don't know if the rumor was false or not, but I've been hearing, that Kurt Hawkins is set to make a comeback, and he
I heard
was
he
like
might
backstage
even,
tonight.
I heard rumors that he was supposed to show up tonight even.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
And obviously that didn't happen, but that would have been hilarious.
Obviously he needs to team up with Zack Ryder, and he's going to feud with Mojo Rawley over the right to be with Zack.
I actually liked the tag team of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins when they were a thing. When they were the Edgeheads, I dug it. I thought it was good shit.
Yeah.
That was probably the only time you could honestly say, or that I could honestly say, that I liked Zack Ryder anything. So there you go.
The only thing I've ever liked Kurt Hawkins in when he was temporarily the third member of the Dude Busters in FCW.
Yeah, that was good.
I miss the Dude Busters.
Yeah. Wasn't that Kalen Croft and Trent Beretta on the main roster version?
Yeah, that's who it always has been.
Right.
Temporarily for like a few months, they had Kurt Hawkins join the group in FCW for a storyline.
Okay. Yeah, Dude Busters were cool. Yeah.
To this day, I still, like, WWE doesn't really seem to have any kind of shame about reusing failed theme songs. They need to reuse Semi-Sweet Symphony.
I feel like I've heard the name of that song.
It was the Dude Busters theme song.
Yeah, but I feel like I've heard that elsewhere too. But
well,
yeah,
it's a higher pitched, faster rhythm version of Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve Pipe.
Okay, yeah. See now,
real life song.
Yeah, see now it just became more unfamiliar to me. But regardless,
I guarantee you've heard that song before.
Probably. But yeah, I mean, speaking of tag team division and stuff, would be something if they could bring back the Dude Busters. But
no way Trent Beretta would ever come back to WWE doing. Kalen Croft is like got to be closing in on 40 at this point.
Oh wow, and yet you saying Trent Beretta, doesn't he like hate WWE or something? Or maybe I'm thinking of Paul London because I know he's really blessed him in interviews.
Yeah, well, Beretta was kind of driven out more by, from what I remember and understand, DeMott and Laurinaitis, who aren't really around anymore in their positions of power.
Right.
But Kalen Croft, I just looked him up. He's 36 years old.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So
still doing tag team work though for a guy his age wouldn't be the worst thing because you'd only work half a match.
It would kind of be like WWE's answer to like Red Dragon, where Kyle O'Reilly's like 29 and then Bobby Fish is like 39.
Right.
Because Trent Beretta is 39. Or 29, sorry, yeah, 29.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, Kyle O'Reilly, I believe is 29.
And, yeah, so that's the cool thing about tag teams.
Yeah, Kyle O'Reilly and Trent Beretta both 29, Bobby Fish 39, Kalen Croft 36. So,
wow.
Yeah, the team of the Dude Busters right now are younger than Red Dragon right now.
There you go, see? Yeah, it could totally work out.
It works. It works, people. I mean, I don't think... You know what? We need to stop talking about random stuff that's not going to happen. I feel like this whole draft thing has just sent the entire company into chaos, and we're just going to anticipate and speculate anything that might possibly happen, even if it won't.
You just said chaos. Chaos coming to WWE confirmed. No, I'm just kidding. But we should move on.
Don't do this.
I just did.
Don't make my brain think of these things, John.
I just, and you know what? I'll have
because now I'm imagining Tomohiro Ishii in WWE.
Well, you know what I've been imagining for a while now? Okada and Lucha Underground ever since that one picture was released on Twitter of just him backstage at one of the shows.
Oh,
so,
could you even imagine Okada versus Mundo?
Oh my god. See, we're even now. Now we can move on.
Well, moving on then, we had Carmella and this whole thing where she comes out, starts cutting a promo, and then Natty attacks her and puts her in a sharpshooter.
I wish Natalya would learn that she doesn't matter.
I wish Natalya would learn, or rather unlearn, how to breathe.
Wow. You kind of remind me of that meme that I see sometimes where a guy is telling this woman, oh, I think you'd look better without lipstick. And she's like, oh, I think you'd look better without oxygen. And he's like, oh, I'm just giving my opinion. And so am I. You'd look better without oxygen. And then there's a pause, and she's like, fuck your opinions. And I can just picture Natalya, like, arguing with you on Twitter. And it's like, hey, look, I just said you'd be better if you unlearned how to breathe. Fuck your opinions and fuck your cats. TJ loves them more anyway. He's a better parent than you are. Which isn't false, by the way.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not like they have any actual children that would miss their mother.
Exactly.
They just have a bunch of cats that would probably be better off without her.
Yeah, plus TJ and Natty, they wouldn't even have children. They'd have demon spawn because Natalia's just the worst. So, yeah. But Natalya lays out Carmella here, and I'm guessing that's going to be a new feud, which, look, in a way, yeah, we obviously hate Natalya. That's apparent. But if this is going to be the first feud for Carmella, I think it's good for her. Because Natalya is really making a big stink, like, oh, I've been here 10 years, and, like, I'm that veteran voice, if you will. So to throw Carmella in the ring with her right away, I think that's pretty cool for Carmella, and I hope she makes the most of it, and she picks up some wins along the way.
So, Carmella versus Natalya is happening, and Becky versus Eva may be happening? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the way it's looking, man.
And that leaves Bliss and Naomi.
Yeah.
That's kind of an odd pairing, isn't it?
Which would actually be appropriate given that last week when they were doing, like, everybody was talking, Naomi was the one who cut off Alexa Bliss. So, yeah, I don't know.
They haven't used that promo to actually do anything.
I mean, true. I'm just saying it'd be a happy accident if it works out the way that you're saying. Like, oh, Naomi pairs off with Alexa because, they did have a little interruption. So, we'll see, but yeah, Natalya, I really have a weird gut feeling she's going to be the inaugural champion, if not Eva, and that just disappoints me. It may actually disappoint me more than if Eva Marie wins it, because at least Eva Marie is a genuine heat magnet, whereas Natalya, I think she is slowly getting better at being a heel, but she's not there yet. She's not to the point where I think she could be of any service to a babyface, but that's just me, so.
Yeah. So, let me ask you a question, John. Completely unrelated to what we were... Well, not completely, but semi-unrelated to what we were just talking about. Still relevant to the women.
Okay.
What do you think the odds are that Eva Marie's injury was legit tonight?
Oh, I don't think at all. I think it was like a word thing. I mean, even... Because here's the thing. If it was legitimate, I don't think Carmella would have called her out on that SmackDown Live kind of thing when she's sitting with Renee. I don't think she would have done that, so I don't think it's real at all.
Okay.
But
maybe it's just that I'm bad at reading sarcasm, but it seems like a lot of people are actually trying to make it seem like it was legit.
And if it was, I mean, obviously, I would recant my statement and be like, oh, I was wrong.
In the thread where people are trying to say it actually looks legit, someone's like, okay, time to retire. See you, Eva. Straight to the Hall of Fame.
All read everything now is a part of the WWE Hall of Fame. Oh my god.
So how hard was it to hold back the vomit when you said that?
Pretty hard, but you know what? Knowing that Coco Beware is in there made it, I was like, I can push through this. I can. So.
Oh, Coco Beware is decent.
He's alright.
He's better than Eva.
I mean, come on though. You're better than Eva, and you don't have a lick of in-ring experience.
I'm probably more athletic than Eva, for what it's worth.
Probably.
So, anyway, let's move on. Up next, we had this whole Dolph Ziggler angry backstage segment where he told Shane and Bryan to screw off.
Again, I liked it. Great fire from Dolph, and I don't know what's gonna happen with this character or the Dean character, especially when we get to the main event match, which we'll in a second. But yeah, I liked his confidence. I like that he's like, no, nobody believes in me. That's fine. I believe in me. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna do it. So good stuff here.
And then we got our main event of the evening, Dolph versus Bray.
What did you think about how this match was booked? Like, with just, the start and of course, the finish and just everything. Like, what did you think?
I gotta say, it felt kind of directionless.
I like the match. Let me just say that right now. I even tweeted, like, there were some points where I thought Bray was legitimately going to beat Ziggler. And I like that they had some cool false finishes. I was about to get angry at one point. I was getting ready to make that a nitpick had this happened. But when Bray was undoing the turnbuckle pad, because I was even telling you in conversation, he's only done that one time before, and that was in his feud with Ryback. So it's not totally unprecedented, but it's still done with such rarity that you could call it uncharacteristic. and having Bray, because then Dolph kind of pops up and he hits a zigzag, and I'm like, oh no, if you have Bray lose simply because he made a deviation for 1 second of his character, I was going to be so pissed. But then you have a great near fall moment where Bray actually kicks out. I thought that was really well done. I like the tension and the emotion in this match. But where I start to get confused, and maybe this is kind of what you meant about directionless, but I'll give the ball back to you in a second. Dolph does, first of all, again, finish the job with the turnbuckle, pulls it off. And then that plays a role in the finish. He crashes Bray's head against it, hits a super kick, gets the pin. What do you think about that, dude? Because I honestly still don't know how to feel about all that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like they took this story and they wanted it to be like the Sami Zayn redemption story where he kind of, finally gets that edge that you need in order to win a championship back in NXT.
Right.
But they condensed like 6 months of build into one night.
Yeah, and not only that, I feel like everything that was done in the opening and just everything was kind of turned on its head. But you know what, though? Maybe, and here's the thing, because I don't really know if I like that Dean kind of changed his message a little bit, and he's like, oh, Dolph's one of the best competitors. And they made it seem like his promo at the beginning, like he wanted to light a fire under Dolph.
Yeah, he almost invalidated his own promo.
Because it's almost like he was like, oh, I was just trying to motivate Dolph and this and that. But I guess where it's cool is that, and you even said this earlier in the opening segment we were talking about it, and I'm glad you said it because it made the connection with me here. Dolph using the exposed turnbuckle at the end does kind of feed into that opening promo because, like you said, Dean at one point accused Dolph of, you don't focus on winning, you focus on everything else but winning, where, tonight winning was Dolph's primary concern, and he did it by any means necessary.
But does that mean he's going to be a heel now? And I think that question got answered for us in the post-match Bray and Rowan beating down Ziggler and Ambrose.
See, you say answered, but personally I say muddied, if anything, because for the moment he's still face, but I could see him abandon, and I even talked to you this in conversation, because to get to Ashton's point, Dolph, wins out of the super kick, everything. He's like, oh, you wanted the real me? I'm right here. And then Eric Rowan...
That felt heelish, though.
It did feel heelish to a point, but then that kind of gets put out when Eric Rowan is just jumping Dolph Ziggler and he's beating the crap out of him. Then Dean tries to come in, but then he gets isolated, and, ultimately Bray and Rowan stand tall. Now, the interesting thing about this is, obviously to me, and I think to you too, this is probably going to play into a tag team match next Tuesday, Bray and Rowan versus Dolph and Ambrose, because, not only do we get to showcase the Wyatt family, but we can see if you two coexist. I could see Dolph abandoning Dean Ambrose on the apron. If Dolph sees this tag match through, I honestly don't think he's going to turn, oddly enough, and I think we could have a face versus face WWE World Heavyweight Championship match at SummerSlam.
Which, thankfully, would not need to main event, because we've also got Rollins-Finn for the Universal title that can actually main event.
And Brock Orton, which could even go on, after the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match as well. I'd prefer it not to, because I want to keep Dean's spot strong, but Dolph kind of mucked everything up, so there you go.
If it would have been Bray, I would have been able to believe it as a main event, but Dolph, not so much.
Yeah, exactly. So, Wyatt family stands tall. Any concluding thoughts about this segment?
I don't think so, no. I don't think... Yeah, I mean... the match itself was decent, but not great. The post-match segment was more interesting to me just because I freaking love the Wyatt family, and, heels beating down faces is always a great way to end the show to make people want to come back and see what happens next week.
Right.
How many times did we get that finish during Bryan's climb to the top, right?
I know, right?
It's kind of like they're... You know how we were always talking about how, with Roman during his push, it was like they were combining Steve Austin, John Cena, and Daniel Bryan's pushes all into one guy.
Right.
And crunching it down into, a 3-month period.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of similar to what they're doing with Ziggler right now, except without, the badass ass-kicker aspect of it.
Right.
It's pretty much like Daniel Bryan and then... I don't know, maybe even a little bit of the Dean Ambrose push,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it seems like they're doing with Dolph Ziggler something that we've seen so many times before, where somebody who was kind of, I don't want to say lazy because he's not lazy, but someone who was kind of content decides that he wants to take himself seriously again and turns it on again.
Right. Okay. And yeah, I could agree with you there, and we'll see what happens. I mean, they've still got a few weeks before SummerSlam. I'm hoping they turn up the heat a little bit more because I really will. I'll give SmackDown credit. I love the character work they did with Dolph and even Dean to a degree, kind of just really spitting that fire a little bit, being like, oh, no, Dolph, no, you're not, and just really demeaning him and stuff. But I think things will come more into focus next week because I do think we'll have a tag team match, and how that tag match plays out, I think is going to be very indicative of where this story is going. So with that said, let's move on to our next segment, high spots and low shots. Going to make my low shot real simple. My low shot is Carmella. Laid the gauntlet down to Natalya. I don't need any of this, to beat you. I'm going to be just fine. And then when they're about to have their match, Carmella gets the crap beat out of her by Natalya. So Carmella talked a good game. She stood up for herself, which I liked, but Natalya wasn't having any of it, and she beat the crap out of Carmella. So, yeah, Carmella's my low shot.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so my low shot, and I hate this. I don't want to do this, but it has to be Bray Wyatt because you talked a big game, you put out the challenge, and you lost.
Yeah, completely.
And you lost
agree.
because of your own tactic because you started that turnbuckle pad.
Exactly.
So
your own tactic backfired. You made all the stakes. You even coaxed the guy that had to give everything up to do it, and you couldn't sit at the table when it was all prepared. Yep. So I agree with Bray being low shot. Conversely, though, my high spot is Dolph Ziggler. He was a gambling man, and you know what? He came up great. He won the jackpot because he proved to himself that he can be in the ring with Dean Ambrose. He can hold his own. He can win. And I think he silenced a lot of doubters, at least speaking kayfabe. And, yeah, even though he got beat down at the end of the night, he still kept his title shot intact, and that's the bigger picture here. So Dolph is my high spot.
Yeah, definitely. You took the free throw and you made it. I'm going to take the layup, American Alpha.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you there. American Alpha had an extraordinary debut.
Oh my god, I was so concerned there. You said I would completely agree with you there. I was waiting for you to say, but it sounded like you were so apprehensive, like you weren't sure. Okay. Yeah, American Alpha is like the layup high spot tonight because they debuted, people loved them, and they dominated.
Completely agree on all counts. I mean, nothing really I can add to that.
All right, let's close her on out.
All right, guys, with that said, this has been SmackDown Live. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Partner, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
My question for our subscribers this week is, where do you think these women's storylines are going? Becky, Eva, and Natty Carmella.
Ah, very nice. Okay, so where do you guys think these women's storylines are going? Get those comments down below. Talk to us. You guys already know all the platforms and stuff to check us out on. And I want to close out by saying, submit questions for TWitWoW Q&A. We had some people in our inaugural Q&A say, oh, I wish I would have known about it. I would have submitted questions. I didn't know. Well, I'm going to take, every end of our TWitWoW to at least promote that. Get questions into Q&A. Again, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit. The mediums to submit. We'd love any questions you guys would have to ask. I love the turnout for the inaugural one. I thought it was a huge success, and it really makes me jazzed about doing these every month. So whether it's for a question for me, Ashton, both of us, or my alter ego, Johnny Scumbag, any questions you have, get them down there. And guys, tomorrow's going to be stacked because we start with G1 Climax, then we're going to get your NXT review, and then Cruiserweight Classic live reactions. Going to be a stacked day for your subscription box. Until then, tune in and peace out.